print then?
Well, yeah, it's vintage, let's put it that way.
1992, right?
Yeah, and just beat to hell, but I couldn't get a new one, unfortunately.
I told you about it, sorry.
Huh?
Right.
More lights?
No, oh, actually, this room doesn't have a spotlight.
Sorry.
I'm afraid.
Stand under that thing.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it's a shame not to see you.
Right. So
all my
I was wondering,
fans.
I'll do a few questions myself, and then I'll kind of fling it out to you guys, and you can ask what you want. My first question is, where did it?
Why?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Where did it all start? Where was the kind of the start of the creative process for you on this?
I don't, oh, there's so many different things. One of them had to do with, I had a friend named Merrill Melford who was a bricklayer in Salt Lake City, tough guy, slept on a piece of foam, and I went over to his house one day, and to have a beer, I opened up the refrigerator, and there was a cat in the freezer.
It actually happened?
Yeah, and I said, oh, hey, Merrill. And he says, oh, I haven't had time to bury Simon, and I didn't want to just throw him in the trash, so that started it. And then I was living in LA at the time when I was working on this, and I had terrible insomnia, and I was terribly broke, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd watch TV. And there was a cable TV show on about a fellow named Mr. Vu, I believe. He was a Vietnamese who'd gone from being a boat person to, you know, a millionaire with a yacht and all these beautiful women and drinking champagne. I started watching those things, and somehow that turned into this.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's your kind of what was your writing process like from there? Do you do a lot of your writing at night, for example, like that? Do you find
Well,
yourself
when I
kind
get
of
up,
staying awake
when I did this one, it's always different. When I did this one, I'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd write until about noon, and then I'd be done for the day.
Yeah.
You know.
How long did it take you roundabout to kind of get
you know, I had
everything
to do
down?
other things because I had no money, so I wrote, and it took I'm going to say probably easily more than a year, easily, yeah.
I was wondering, there's a lot of really strange characters in the film, obviously, aside from just Rubin and Ed, people who growl and bark at Rubin and Ed in the street and stuff.
Yeah.
What is your attraction to those kind of the really weird ones?
Well, I don't see them as weird, I guess. I see them as more interesting. I see them as heroic misfits. That's what, I think that's maybe the way I'd put it. The people that are on the outside that are really quite wonderful, but everyone kind of picks on them. I like those people.
It feels kind of like, almost like it's an admiration of people who really express what they're like the guy who just barks at Ed in the street. Like it's just what you want to do to those people who pass you by, and it feels like that's kind of, is it kind of part of an expression of yourself, like what certain freedoms that you would like to have?
Are you trying to say I'm weird?
No.
You already said that.
Is it part of like maybe certain things that you would like to do, but obviously in civilized society we can't get away with?
No, I bark at people all the time.
There you go. I was wondering also, you've got, obviously there's a lot of quite surrealistic music and shots and stuff. Is that very much your style, or is it?
Well, I like that kind of otherworldly stuff. As I make movies, it gets further and further and further that direction until, I think my last one, no one can understand. It's gone so, it's just like, what is that? But no, I like that very much.
Yeah.
Surrealism, Dadaism, things like that, absurdity. You know, finding the truth through making stuff up. You know, being extreme and trying to get to something else.
Yeah.
I mean, both these characters, I think, are. They're both heroic misfits, and they both have lost something that they won't let go of, and that becomes the thing that stunts them. Okay. You know, so hopefully they get over it and go on to even a worse future, perhaps. But at least they move.
Yeah.
They move.
Let's talk about, you brought up your latest, that Luna Mesa,
Yeah.
right?
Not Mesa.
Mesa?
Mesa.
Mesa.
Like
I'm
Mesa
sorry.
might
I'm
be
sorry.
better.
I've read that it's kind of a work in kind of basically continuous process. You're always adding and changing and copying.
Yeah.
Is that finished? Are you keeping
Well,
going with that?
I'll probably keep going with it. Yeah, it's kind of, in a weird way, it's sort of autobiographical. It's a narrative, and it's a documentary, and it's a whole bunch of stuff put together, but it's a very personal film. So as things happen to me, I incorporate them because it's kind of about me. It's kind of, well, it's not exactly about me, but it's sort of, yeah. It's about the things I go through, so I keep adding to it.
Yeah.
It'll probably be done when I'm done.
There you go.
But it's not the only thing I'm going to do, but I'll keep working on it.
What are your plans? What are you gonna?
Oh, I just work all the time. Yeah, I work all the time. I'm working on a little thing right now that has absolutely no dialogue that I think will be interesting. I hope. We'll see.
Feature? Short?
Yeah, be a feature.
Cool. I was also wondering, what was it like? I mentioned before this was Trent's first and only studio film ever. What's it like working?
Yeah, but they just threw me the hell out of Hollywood after this. It's like, what in the...
Well, what's the
you
difference?
can kill people in Hollywood and they don't care, but if you don't make money, you're out of there.
So is that one of the primary differences then you find between kind of working for a studio and working individually in indie film? Is that you're very driven to make money in the studio? Are you more kind of
Well, I
artistically
just make
free?
movies to, I mean, I've said this a million times, I make movies to keep from going mad. And I'm not sure it's working, but that's why I do it. It's the process, it's just something I do that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And if I start thinking about, are people going to like this, how am I going to make money from it, stuff like that, I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Ultimately, I don't care.
I'll open it out.
What are you going to do, you know?
Anyone in the audience got a question for Trent? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So, I've been like a cult follower of this movie since I found it on
You're the
VHS
one.
in like '92, '93. But so I always thought that it was Crispin Glover. I don't know why. I always thought it was just sort of his thing because he's so weird. How much of that is improv and how much of it is just?
There's no improv in
So
it at all.
that's as written.
Yeah.
And he's
absolutely.
just.
He's
You
right.
made him that weird, or he just added weirdness to it.
Well, the character was written that way.
Right.
The character was written that way. Does that answer your question?
I've been.
He's a bit of an eccentric, but
Yeah.
that's why I was drawn to him in the
Yeah,
first
no,
place.
I
We were
mean-
good friends for years and
Yeah.
years.
I love him.
Yeah.
Great.
Next question? Yes, please.
I love the positive, the positive real
Power
estate
through
stuff.
positive real estate.
That was absolutely wonderful. Have you had personal experience of that, or was that imaginary?
Well, what I did was I did a lot of research after I'd heard the television thing. I began to, I collected tapes that were from these kind of get rich, successful organizations. Excuse me. So I listened to those a lot, and I read a lot of their literature. And actually, the thing in the movie is pretty absurd, but it's not that far off from reality. You know, they really do that.
So does that mean they don't work because you're not rich, or did you get rich?
I didn't get rich, that's for sure.
I'm just going to chip in here. It does seem like a lot of it is about this kind of, you know, you focus on characters, you know, the con men, as we said, the fringes of society. Is it part of what you feel about American society in general, how you view the kind of American dream, that distorted image?
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad. America's a great country, but it's really gone south on a lot of levels. And there's a whole lot of things about materialism and what you value that have kind of gotten way out of whack. You know, I mean, we're just about to, you know, possibly elect a CEO as president. I mean, how horrible.
Yeah.
What a horrible idea. It's the last thing you want. You know, so things have gotten a little out of whack, yeah.
Tying into the last question, this will seem like, I'd never seen this before. It actually reminded me a lot of The Master, which I just saw.
Of what?
The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master.
He copied it exactly.
Because it's, you know, it's two lost souls and kind of a cult as well, and one person who buys into it and the other person they kind of save each other, and it was just to be honest, like when he drank the dead cat juice, he kind of lost me for a while.
I lost you there?
Yeah. Like, but
You'd be surprised how many people leave at that point.
But you really got me back at the end, and it was just a very interesting kind of sweet story at the end about just two very weird people that were made for each other, and for all the weirdness in that movie, because I kind of want to ask, like, how high were you? But
You don't want to see the movies I make when I'm high.
But at the end, it kind of turned into this kind of bromance.
Yeah.
It was really sweet at the end, and I was like, I wound up really enjoying it. So just thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was funny because while I was doing this, I'd just lost my girlfriend, and I'd also lost my best friend. Had died, and I was having trouble. I was having trouble dealing with both of those things, and it's sort of this was a way to work through it, kind of in an odd way.
Is the wife character a bit of a jibe at the ex?
She's more like my mother.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
No, I just wanted to pick up on the point of you were saying if you don't write, you'll go mad.
Yeah.
What are you? I mean, you've kind of explained most of it along the way about personal things that have happened to you. But is there anything else that kind of makes you go mad that you need to go and?
You know, I
write?
don't have a wife. I've never been married. I have no children. I have lived kind of a very sort of, I mean, Spartan existence. I live like a college kid, really. So I don't have a lot of stuff. But what I do is but I have this body of movies that I've made. I mean, I've made six features, but I've got hundreds of others. And I continually work, every day since I started in, I think I was about 17. There hasn't been a day that I haven't been working on a film, literally since then. And it's my way of, it makes me feel good when I feel bad, you know? It makes me feel good when I feel bad. So I just, it's my family in a strange sort of way. And the movies almost become like my children. You know, some of them are all screwed up and you know, this one's all beat up. You know, it's just beat to shit. But sort of, even though they're flawed, you know, they're my thing and I like them. And sometimes they get a life of their own and move on sometimes, you know, and that's pleasant to see. I mean, I don't know why this film is being shown 20 years later or whatever it is. I mean, no, they wouldn't show this in America. It ran for, you know, about that long. And they said, what in the fuck are you what are you doing? You know, so, but somehow it's got its own through bootlegged tapes.
Yeah.
That's the only way that it's survived. And oddly enough, it's probably more popular. It gets more popular over the years. I haven't, nothing I can do about it. It's not like I push it, or you know, it's just sort of it's got its life. Beaver Trilogy's the same way. Just
So
goes on and on and
It's a
on.
way of sort of you know, separating what you're trying to escape from in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can go in. I can work, and I feel good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
How do you actually get your films made? I'm just interested. Like,
Yeah,
do you have
no.
friends who help you, or do you? Sort
Well,
of,
everyone
how
is-
do they actually get made?
Everyone is different. Everyone is a different process. This one was a studio film. The next one I made was a very low budget, independent thing that I put together, a limited partnership. You know, the last one I made, I did completely by myself. I shot it, edited it, produced it, directed it, wrote it, did the music. I find that the more people that you get involved, the less likely it is to get done. You know, and particularly at this point, because of the kind of things that I'm doing. There's, you know, for me to go out and try to raise money, it would be like Ed. I mean, it'd be absurd. It's a stupid thing for me to even try. So what I do is I try to find simpler and simpler ways to work. You know, and sometimes the film pays a price for that sometimes in production values and things like that. But it's like you say, I just keep working, keep working, keep working.
So do you own your own camera and sound?
Yeah, I've got a
stuff?
little, you know, kind of an inexpensive camera and a computer and some microphones, and so I can do, you know, you can do quite a bit.
Yeah. Have you kind of learned by doing? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you study film originally? I was wondering.
Yeah,
or
I
you just
studied
kind of-
film. I studied, boy did I study film. And really what I study the most is painting
Oh, okay.
and art. That's where my real passion is. I mean, as soon as I hit London, I get on the boat to the Tate Modern. First place I go, you know, and then I go to galleries. Today I spent the day going to galleries. I get a lot more out of painting. And in fact, people, particularly, this one's pretty yeah, pretty straightforward. But the stuff gets more and more abstract, and people, you know, as they look, people look at my movies and they try to put them in the world of movies, of like Hollywood movies and things, and it's like, what, you know, what is he doing? They don't make sense. But if the world that I operate in is much more of a world of painting and outsider artists, and those are the people that I'm more inspired by, the way they work and what they create. You know, I'm not sure if you know what outsider artists are, but they're untrained artists. They're untrained artists that create because God tells them to. They cannot help it. And they make amazing things with plywood and house paint, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to ever get any money, but I can get some plywood and some house paint and I can make something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know.
Are there any last 2 questions I'll take? That's okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'll ask
Thank you.
one more last question, just to finish everything off. As you mentioned, when this came out, there was a reaction. Let's just say,
Oh my
everyone
God.
just went a bit like, "What?"
Yeah, no. Well, it kind of came out at the right around the week of the LA riots.
Yeah, so it was a bad mood.
Oh my God, you know. The city was in a bad mood and the critics were in a really bad mood. I mean, the LA Times said the person that made this ought to have their driver's license taken away. And that was the good review. You know, the Boston Globe said, worst movie of the decade. And that's when I knew I was onto something.
So that's what I was thinking. I mean, did you feel it was hard to then go on and create something else, or did you actually take that as a bit of a kind of backhanded compliment almost in a way?
No, I mean, you know, it just made me furious. It's like, who the fuck are these people telling me that this is not a good movie? It's a great movie. They can go to hell.
But
that's kind of what I thought.
It prompted you to go on and do your own stuff. And
Well, it
just
didn't
put
have
the
to
middle
prompt
finger
me.
up.
There was no stopping me at that point. I just keep going, and I wasn't gonna. I couldn't. There was no way they were gonna let me work in Los Angeles, so I had to find other ways to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I keep continually finding new ways to do it. And you know, you don't need a lot of money and things anymore to make a movie.
Yeah.
Just do it and go and make another one, and then when you're done with that, go make another one.
Do you still work on film, or have you gone digital?
All digital. Film is so obsolete,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and it's also so damned expensive. It's impossible now. It really is. I mean, even the big guys are shooting digital now. So the big guys, those great big guys. You know.
One more chance for anyone in the audience. Going once.
Going twice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming.